Ever heard of fatty liver disease? It's becoming a major health concern affecting millions worldwide. Think of your liver, a vital organ filtering toxins and keeping you healthy. Now imagine it overloaded with fat, like a sponge soaked with oil. That's fatty liver disease, and it can lead to serious complications. But here's the good news. Recent research shows we can fight back, not with medications, but with a simple tweak to our diet. Intrigued? Stick around because we're about to dive deep into the science of fatty liver disease and unveil the key to reversing it naturally. So check out this pic of what fatty liver looks like. Basically, it's just like it sounds, way too much fat chilling in the liver. Now, why is that a problem? Well, fat, which goes by the fancy name triglycerides, is meant to hang out in fat cells, aka adipocytes. Stick it in fat cells, no biggie. But toss it into the liver where it doesn't belong, and you've got a mess on your hands. So let's talk about non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and its early stages. You start seeing these cells all puffed up with extra fat. Then, as it moves into non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, or NASH, inflammation starts kicking in big time. And this liver inflammation can wreck the liver, wiping it out completely, leading to cirrhosis or even needing a new liver. Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is becoming a major deal in North America and worldwide. Back in 1980, hardly anyone knew about it. Fast forward, it's an epidemic now. They figure about 25% of folks in the US have it, causing a heap of liver issues. Looking at UK data, hospital stays for fatty liver have shot up nearly 10 times from 98 to 2010. Liver transplants due to this have doubled from 0.7 to 13. Normally, the liver can make some fat and get some from the blood, fatty acids from meals and such. It takes them in, processes them, and sends them back out. The diff between regular livers and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is there's a crazy amount of fat production through this thing called de novo lipogenesis. That's the fancy term for making new fat. But what's it using? Not old fat, it's all about sugar. When we delve into sugars, there are two primary molecules in focus. Glucose, the chief sugar in starches, such as bread, flour, rice, potatoes. These are lengthy chains of glucose. The other simple sugar is fructose, present in high fructose corn syrup and table sugar or sucrose. That's 1 part glucose and 1 part fructose. Fructose plays a crucial role in de novo lipogenesis since only the liver can metabolize it. Other cells in your body, like your heart, muscles, kidneys, can't use fructose for energy. So when you consume fructose, it heads straight to the liver. As shown in this diagram, it transforms into triglycerides or fresh fat, ideally meant for exportation. However, excess fat production leads to liver accumulation. Glucose is another key molecule to consider. A high-carb diet converts glucose into new triglycerides. The process depicted in this diagram may seem complex. Essentially, glucose goes through the liver's metabolic pathway, resulting in triglycerides or new fat. This process is akin to how foie gras is produced in animals. Foie gras, a controversial food due to potential animal cruelty, involves force-feeding ducks large amounts of starches. Like corn mash, rich in glucose, their livers churn out more fat, resulting in fatty liver, which is what we know as foie gras. And it's applicable in humans too. In this research, what they did was they overfed humans carbs. Starting from the base when they fed them lots of glucose and fructose, their body weight increased, but only by 2%. However, their liver fat shot up by 27%, and the de novo lipogenesis jumped by an equal 27%. Once they shifted away from their high-carb diets, all that liver fat vanished. When you consume ample glucose, it triggers the release of the hormone insulin, which is all about storage. It signals our body to stash some of that incoming energy. One method our body uses for this is by making new fat. These studies highlight a clear link between giving people insulin and the amount of liver fat they carry. The same story plays out with overloading on fructose, like sugar or high fructose corn syrup. When they tried this on humans, they discovered that de novo lipogenesis in the liver amped up new fat production by 79%. The rate skyrocketed by 6 times from the starting point. So the liver is reacting to this fructose overload by turning it into liver fat. Once we grasp how this fat builds up and settles in the liver, it naturally leads us to how we'll tackle it. Since fatty liver stems from excessive sugar, both glucose and fructose, the sensible fix is simply to dial them down. Recent research has shown this approach to be highly effective in reversing fatty liver disease. This study, released in 2019, delved into teenage boys with fatty liver. They split them into two groups. One had a standard diet, while the other followed a super low sugar diet, less than 3% of their calorie intake versus the normal diet, which was less than 10% sugar. So, what did they find? Check out this graph showing the low sugar diet's impact. The dotted line marks the pre-diet liver fat levels, and the circle shows the post-low sugar diet liver fat levels. On average, liver fat dropped from 25% to 17%. You'll notice most circles dip below the original line. Unlike the regular diet where there wasn't much change, the average liver fat barely shifted from 21 to just 20, hardly any change at all. Moving on to a 2021 study that randomized folks into two different diet plans: a fasting diet, like the 5-2 diet, and a low-carb, high-fat diet. With the fasting diet, not much changed in their overall diet, except for 2 days with very few calories. On the flip side, the low-carb diet slashed their carb intake significantly. So what went down? Both fasting and low-carb diets led to better weight loss than the usual diet. But the big deal was how they reduced liver fat by over 50% with both fasting and low-carb diets. This makes total sense. If fatty liver stems from an excess of sugar, meaning too much glucose and fructose, then the logical step is to simply reduce their intake by adopting very low-carb diets and/or intermittent fasting. We can reverse fatty liver disease, a growing epidemic that's causing a lot of liver issues, and we can do it naturally and for free. We just need to apply the knowledge of how it develops to our daily lives. If you're curious about intermittent fasting, you can check out my other videos in the playlist. They should be around here. Wow, we learned a lot about fatty liver disease today. It's kind of like having too much oil in your liver, but the good news is we can fight it by eating less sugar, just like cutting back on sweets and treats. Want to know more about how to eat less sugar? Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss a FitBuzz video. We'll share more enlightening health buzz with you next week.